in this world, if you're replaceable, you will be replaced, right? So if in your job you're in your 20s and you're doing something that other people could do, by the time you become 28, they can hire somebody 24 when they hired you, but for less money. They will do that right away. It's a brutal world. So if you're replaceable, you will be replaced. So the only defense against that is to be irreplaceable in this world. And the good news is that you are at your core irreplaceable. There is something strange and weird about you. Once again, I hate to say it, but it's a chapter that I'm writing right now for my Sublime book. Okay, and I explain in Mastery where that comes from biologically, your DNA, how you are marked as a unique individual at birth, the combination of variants in your chromosomes. It's mathematically impossible for it to ever be replicated. What the game of life involves is knowing your uniqueness, is knowing who you are, is knowing what makes you weird and what makes you odd. Okay? And the problem is that we're social animals, and the pressure continually on us is to fit into a group, is to be like other people, to have their ideas, to have their values, to have their tastes, to dress like them. Okay? And that happens when you're young, you're in your adolescence. We all go through that phase. I went through that phase. But if you keep on that track when you're in your 20s and on, which is happening a lot today through social media, you're going to lose that sense of what makes you odd and different. Mm-hmm. I compare it to a voice. When you're very young, that little voice in you is going, Robert, you should be a writer. Chris, you should be a blah, 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 blah. I don't know what it is, right? It's telling you something. And as you get older, you don't hear it anymore because you're hearing all the other voices. You're hearing your voices of your parents, the teachers, the culture around you, your peers, your friends, telling you this is what's cool, this is what's not cool. And that little voice becomes completely drowned out. And so you don't know who you are anymore. And you're afraid, particularly young people today, I mean, maybe it's always been that way, are so afraid of being different. They're so afraid of being odd. But look at all the powerful people in this world. Look at your Elon Musks. Look at your celebrities in entertainment, in business, in politics. They're one of a kind. They have I hate that word, but it's like a brand. They're different. They stand out for something that's truly different. You know, even Albert Einstein, there's nobody else like Einstein. There's nobody like Da Vinci. Okay? That's where your power lies. And you'll go, oh, but Robert, those are people that were brilliant, that were talented. I'm not like that. I don't have that. Well, bullshit. You do have that. It's just you're forgetting about it and you don't want to put the effort into it. I talked in Mastery of a woman named Temple Grandin who was born with severe, severe autism. And she was able to find her way to become a very brilliant professor, academic, writer, and about animals, animal behavior, and about autism itself. She found her way to it when she was 3 or 4, she couldn't even speak any language. She was going to be hospitalized. You have that potential. It's just you're not putting the effort into it. You were lazy. You want to fit into the group. You want to conform because it's easy. But your oddness, what makes you weird, what makes you different, that little strange quirk in how you want to dress yourself, that little strange quirk in your musical tastes, that little quirk in the food that you like to eat, that is who you are. Those are signs from deep within, from your core, from your soul. This is who you are. And if you lose that, not only are you not going to be successful in life, you will also lose yourself, and you will be unhappy, you'll be alienated from who you are. And you can get away with that when you're young because you're happy, you look good, you've got energy, things are going right. You get into your 30s and you're like everybody else, and you don't know who you are and you don't know what you like anymore, and you're just following the trends. You start to get depressed and you start going down this rabbit hole, and things can turn really ugly. So you need a bit of courage in life. You need to go, okay, I am weird. I am strange. Lean into it. So when I had the 48 Laws of Power, when I first wrote the book, without it being published yet, it was a very strange looking book, and it reflects my own strangeness. Things on the margins, stories, everything broken up, images, quotes here and there. It's kind of how my brain is, a hodgepodge, kind of a mess, really. And the publishers, they bought the book, but then they came back to us and they said, Robert, can you kind of maybe make this more like other books? Can you get rid of all those sections and everything? And I said, no, take it or leave it. This is the book as it is. It's odd, it's strange. They didn't like that because if it doesn't fit into all the other books that have had successful, it's too big of a risk. If this movie isn't like the movies that were made last year, who knows who'll go see it? People are so conservative. But because it was odd, it stood out and it was successful. If I had succumbed and I compromised and made it more like other books, I wouldn't be here talking to you. So sometimes you need a little bit of cojones, you need a little bit of courage. You need to stand up and say, I'm okay being different. In nature, the diversity of species in a habitat make it vital, make it alive, make it sustainable. And that comes from mutations in the genetic code. Some insect has a mutation, and therefore a whole new species, a whole new thing splinters off from that, and it creates variety. Well, in human culture is like a habitat in a way. So you're marked with uniqueness by your genetic code. Insects don't really have individuality. We have individuality, and they are like mutations. And so your mutation, your difference, you being Chris, is for a purpose. You're marked that way because by mining your uniqueness, your weirdness, your oddness, your little quirky tastes, you're going to contribute something new to the culture. And in contributing something new to the culture, you enrich it and you keep it turning around and round and round. Cultures in the past that die on the vine don't have any variety. You can look at like the Soviet Union at its most, decadent, or when it was really at its worst phase, like in the 70s and 80s. There's no change, there's no variety. Early on, there was all sorts of weird different voices. They ended up getting imprisoned and murdered. Okay, but a culture has to have variety. It has to have a diversity of voices. And so you, by being odd, you're contributing to that. You're contributing to the culture. By not doing that, you're not contributing at all, and it's a real waste of what nature gave you. It's good to have a little bit of control over something. So if in certain situations, sometimes it's good to be able to not be so pleasing, because I'm a people pleaser too. It's my nature, so I understand that. And sometimes you have the feeling that it's not coming from the right place.
Correct. You're not choosing to, you're obligated to by your nature.
And you're feeling a little bit of fear involved in it.
Yep.
Fear of displeasing, a fear of rejection, a fear of being different. And it probably goes back to childhood and to my parents. We probably have similar parental dynamics. But what's good about what you're saying is, and I completely agree, and I wrote about this, I think, in Human Nature, is that you have this quality. You can't really control it. It's who you are. It's either genetic or it comes from those first couple of years with your mother or father. So make it work for you. Find the way that it's a strength and see it as a strength and use it, and don't have second thoughts about it. Use it for power, right? And don't be so conflicted about it. It's all how you look at it. And there's a reason why you're a people pleaser. And if you weren't a people pleaser, you wouldn't be doing podcasting. You'd be this asshole. I would never have agreed to be on your podcast, right? So it's just that in moments you wish you could control it. Well, that's where it comes down to knowing yourself and knowing what makes you different, and knowing these are things you can't really change. So my wanting to be a writer, or Tiger Woods wanting to be a golfer when he's like 2 years old, there's probably some genetic component in it. And maybe there's some early bonding, but there's probably a genetic component to it. You can't control it. It's who you are. And maybe that you can't control it is a good thing. And maybe it's there for a reason. And maybe if you wanted to do something else, it wouldn't work out. So my knowing that I wanted to be a writer instead of, a businessman or a lawyer like my parents wanted to be probably saved my life, to be honest with you. So knowing what makes you different is kind of going to guide you past these dangerous moments in life and make you want to change who you are because you feel pressure, social pressure to change who you are.
Yeah.
It really just comes down to being aware of who you are, what makes you different, and being comfortable with it. And so you're going to have moments where you're not comfortable with it and you want to conform and you want to be like other people. And, you went through that and I went through that in adolescence in particular, on through the 20s. You make some changes to things because you think it's cool, but you keep coming back. You keep coming back to being alone. You keep coming back to throwing the ball against the wall. I had a ball and I'd throw it against the garage door and I would play all these different games with my glove on and I would catch it and I would imitate the crowd cheering me and this was a home run, this was et cetera. And if I could do it today, I still would, so I understand that. But you come back to these things because they're so strong in you.
Yeah.
And you can't help it, and they give you relief, and they give you comfort, and they're who you are. And so it all comes down to, do you come back to these things, or do you change because of the pressures of other people? And what is the difference? Why are some people like that and some people are not? And that's the million-dollar question. People who are different. I remember in high school, I had an English teacher who kind of changed the course of my life. And he was very weird. He was very different. His way of thinking was different, and how he talked about writing and literature was very odd. And other students hated him, and I thought he was just fantastic. So it's kind of interesting what you said. There was a role model I could see, and it was just a high school teacher, so it wasn't like a career path for him, but I could see that having that kind of quality was a good quality, and I was attracted to it.